We have a bunch of news from the first weekend of spring training up next on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Monday, February 23rd. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White, and let's take a look at the latest news and notes. We did learn that Pablo Lopez will officially undergo Tommy John surgery and will miss all of 2026. It looks like, as of now, Zebby Matthews will likely take his spot in the rotation, Scott, and we just wrapped up our SP Preview Part 3, and it sounds like you have at least a little bit of interest in Zebby Matthews.
I do have interest in Zebby Matthews. Yeah, I there's a bit of a competition there, I would say, because they also have David Festa, for instance, Mick Abel, but I think Zebby Matthews is the most interesting because he gets a lot of whiffs. That is one thing he showed, even though the results were not the greatest. He had a near 13% swinging strike rate, nearly 10K per nine. And if you look at the ERA estimators, particularly FIP, it comes out a lot better than his ERA. It comes out about 380. So I could see Zebby Matthews taking a step forward here this year. And if he's there from the start, yeah, I think he's going to be worth targeting late in some leagues.
Jordan Westburg is dealing with a partially torn UCL in his right elbow. He will not undergo Tommy John surgery, opting for PRP injections instead. He is going to miss all of April at a minimum, and then he'll be reevaluated after that. But, Scott, this looks like it opens up an opportunity for Kobe Mayo. Any deep league interest in him?
It would have to be a pretty deep league, I would say. Now, he did finally show some signs of life toward the end of last season. He, let me see if I can pull up the numbers here. In September, 301 with 5 home runs and a 941 OPS. Hard to complain about that, right? The problem is that he still struck out at a 29% rate. So I would say it's there's a lot of reason for doubt with Kobe Mayo still, but there is that little glimmer of hope from last September. We know he's a big prospect. We know he has a lot of power. Seems like there's an opportunity available to him now, and maybe he'll make good on it. But I view him more as somebody to monitor off the waiver wire in most cases.
Joe Ryan was scratched from his start Saturday, and an MRI revealed inflammation in his back. So something to monitor here and pay attention to. Joe Ryan being drafted as a top 20 starting pitcher in fantasy, so obviously he's very important this season. Riley O'Brien won't pitch in the WBC due to a mild calf strain. He's shut down for a few days. Jojo Romero is a name to watch there in the Cardinals bullpen. Shane Bieber has progressed to throwing from 120 feet. We know he's starting the season on the IL due to forearm fatigue, but I guess this is a good sign for Shane Bieber. Ronald Acuna, we learned, will hit leadoff for the Braves this season. It's not breaking news, Scott, but last year Acuna hit in the middle of the lineup. Now we know he's leading off. It just changes the shape of his production. Instead of maybe big RBI numbers in the middle, we should once again expect big run totals from Ronald Acuna.
Yeah, and that's where he's hit for the majority of his career, even the majority of last year. So we're pretty used to that. I am curious what it means for the rest of the Braves lineup. I think the way Walt Weiss laid it out in their most recent spring game was Drake Baldwin batting second, which is interesting, especially since he's not going to have to share the load with Sean Murphy until May, probably when Murphy's healthy again. And then Matt Olson third and Jerks and Profar fourth.
That is interesting, considering Profar has a great OBP, right? So you'd figure you would want him on base, but...
Well, he is hitting ahead of Austin Riley and Ozzie Albies, who are 5th and 6th. So, I think even more interesting than Acuna leadoff is Baldwin second, and then if Olsen follows him, you got the two lefties back to back, but they both hit lefties pretty well, so probably not a big deal. I think more than anything, it could be good news for Baldwin.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back right after this.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
Welcome back in. FBT Express taking a look at the news and notes from the first weekend of spring training. The Guardian signed Rhys Hoskins to a minor league contract with an invitation to spring training. Last year, he hit 12 home runs with a 748 OPS in 90 games. Still hit the ball decently hard. Scott, any deep league interest here in a Rhys Hoskins to Cleveland?
Yeah, I think there's interest there. I guess there's enough interest that in deep roto leagues with corner infield spots to fill, Hoskins now belongs in the discussion. I don't know that he belongs in it any more than Kobe Mayo, especially as bad as he was coming back from injury. I thought it would go better with the Brewers. And, obviously a reclamation project for Cleveland, but he has enough of a history there of success that I'm intrigued, just not really seeing the point of drafting Rhys Hoskins in most contexts still.
Edwin Uceta has been diagnosed with right shoulder inflammation and will resume throwing next week. He also received a cortisone injection in that shoulder, and it's, I think, good news for Griffin Jax. I just wonder how much the drafting public will react to this guy, and maybe they'll push Griffin Jax up too far as a result.
Could be. I moved him up pretty far myself in light of this news.
How far did you move him up?
I believe he's a top 25 reliever for me in Roto. Let's see if I can give you a little more context than that. I think he's the clear front runner at this point. Some had him, Griffin Jax, as the front runner even before the Uceta injury. Doesn't sound like Uceta's going to miss much time, but it is the sort of thing where, they think he's rested enough. He starts throwing in. Oh no, it's still hurting. They shut him down again. It's the sort of thing that could snowball and end up costing Uceta a lot more time than it seems now. So just that doesn't mean Uceta won't be back opening day. It doesn't mean the job is definitely Jax's. I just think it definitely tips the scales in Jax's favor. Yeah, I'm 24th, which is behind Ryan Walker, but ahead of like Alexis Diaz. So he's now in the fringe closer group, Griffin Jax. Even if Uceda's out of the picture, it could still be a committee. Garrett Clevenger is somebody, a left-hander who could be part of that mix. So I don't want to overrate Jax either, but I do think he deserves to be as high as I've put him.
All right, next up here, Kerry Carpenter could see more opportunities versus left-handed pitching this season. Not so sure that's a good thing because he's been pretty bad against lefties in his career. 207 batting average with a 606 OPS. Again, that's Kerry Carpenter. The Cardinals signed infielder Ramon Arias to a one-year, $2 million deal with a mutual option for 2027. It sounds like the plan is for him to be a short side platoon with Nolan Gorman at third base. I don't think this is the case, Scott, but I hope Ramon Arias doesn't affect J.J. Weatherholt's chances of making the opening day roster.
I don't think he will. I suppose we can't rule it out. Like he's not a starting caliber player himself, and he didn't sign for starter money.
Yeah.
So I imagine Ramon Arias is just depth for the Cardinals. But who knows? I'm not in charge there.
Last up here, Merrill Kelly will undergo precautionary imaging after experiencing mid-back tightness, and Patrick Sandoval might open the season on the IL for the Red Sox. He is still working his way back from Tommy John surgery. Let's wrap there. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again later this week. Bye-bye.